So my name is Ana Mirka Valdivia. If you have seen my other videos, you know that I have breast cancer and that I'm a veterinary technician nurse. And today I wanted to make a very special video because a year ago today, I rescued this pup. This girl. I rescued her. Look at this baby. Look at this baby. You love me? You love me? Okay. So, a year ago today, I picked her up at a shelter. And on September 10th, last year, 2021, it was a Friday. And I was working at the front of a hospital. And this guy made an appointment to put this dog down, and I was the only Spanish speaker in the hospital, so I translated for the doctor and the gentleman. So we examined this dog, and the doctor was like, "I'm not gonna put her down. She's treatable," which I absolutely love. Like, I didn't get into this field sooner because I was like, I'm not gonna put animals down. I was so against it. And then as you get into it, you realize that sometimes it's a kindness to put the animals down. So before she was Fifi, sorry, I have cat hair in my mouth. Okay, I was cleaning all day. So before, she had a really bad skin infection. She has a cataract in one of her eyes. She had mammary tumors. Did you took your bow off? She had a bacteria infection in her ears, in between the webbing of her feet. She had a dental disease. She was a hot mess. And I knew that over my dead body, she was gonna be put down. Like, I like made a decision before. Like, I have 5 cats, and I love animals. Like, I love them. I've never gotten this attached to an animal at a clinic. One of my cats I adopted when I was volunteering at a cat room in a PetSmart. I fell in love with him, and like 3 weeks later, I adopted him. But I know how expensive it is, and it's such a big responsibility to have so many animals. I do not recommend. The reason why I have so many animals is it's a long story. Maybe I'll make a video on it later. I'm not sure. But I was like attached to this dog. Like, I fell in love with her. Like, I didn't want to give her back to the owner. I didn't want to like stop holding her when the doctor was done examining her. So I went to the front, and the doctor was like, she's treatable. I'm not gonna put her down. He did a list of things that he wanted to do for the dog, and told the owner, like, these are the things the owner wanted me to ask the doctor which ones were the necessary ones. And there was like ear medication on there. There was a skin antibiotic. There was like a few things on there, and I didn't know. I didn't know which ones he should pick. And we did an ear swab as a learning experience. So that we wouldn't have to charge him for the thing, and we could know like what medication to give, because of like if it was a bacteria, if it was yeast, or if it was fungal, so that we could give the appropriate medication. So we did that so that we wouldn't have to charge him. And then I was like, why don't you surrender her? So I called the doctor donates food to a shelter that he knows because he's from the area. So I called the shelter and I explained the situation to them, and I was like, I'm willing to foster to adopt her, which means that I'll foster her till she gets adopted. So when I said that, like, he was gonna like, there's a waiting list. There was like a 3-week waiting list, whatever. It was like a long process, but because I was a vet tech, they skipped all of that, and I was able to have the gentleman surrender her to the shelter, and I picked her up. So this was on a Friday, and on a Tuesday I picked her up. And you best believe that in between that time, I was calling the guy. I was like, hi, how are you? I just wanted to know how she is. Could you send me a picture? And there was like there was one time when I called her and he didn't know who I was. And I was like, oh my God, am I gonna lose this cat, this dog? And then they made a special arrangement so that I could go pick up the dog. She didn't have to stay at the shelter. She didn't have to go on a waiting list with this guy. And then after all of that happened, I looked at my friend that was working in the front with me. She's my friend. Like, she comes over to my house. She gets her nails done by me. She didn't really know what was going on because everything was like in Spanish and in English. And then I was like, oh my God, my boyfriend is going to kill me. So I called my boyfriend and I told him, and I was like, so I tried explaining to him like what happened and everything. And he was like, so you're telling me you're bringing home a dog? And I was like, yeah. So I came home, didn't have any pictures to show him. He was like, she's a cancer dog. She, like, he, in his mind, he thought it was like a hospice situation where like I was just gonna like give her some comfort till she passed away. I had no expectations on how beautiful she was gonna become. I didn't know anything. Like, I was just like, the shelter was gonna spay her because it was included in my adoption fee, but the shelter is not apt, or they don't have like the funds or the money to do a double chain mastectomy, which is what she ended up getting. So I went and I picked her up. I thought it was gonna be like real simple. I thought I was just gonna, like, go say hi. I'm the one that's picking her up, so that the doctor could check her out and then give her to me. So I went. I was gonna go to my job and get some prescription food for her skin. What ended up happening is when I went to the shelter I looked down at her in her little pen, and I'm gonna attach a video of pictures of her. I looked down at her. I started crying. I lost it. I had to call my friend. Like, I walked out and I was like crying, and thank God she was off that day. She came to our job, and she took me to a waterfall. I lost my key. It was like such an emotional, hectic, crazy day. And then when I picked her up from the vet, I took her back to my job, and my friend that's a veterinarian, she logged on to her computer, and poor dog got a rectal exam. She got Cytopoint, which is amazing. I should be the spokesperson for them. It stops itch. It blocks the T-cell response, and it's one of the safest things in the world. One of the safest things. I haven't had anybody had a reaction on Cytopoint. I've heard of it. I'm not sure. Nothing is outside of the realm of possibility, but it's pretty safe. So I gave her Cytopoint. I gave her... At the shelter, they gave her rabies in distemper. She tested positive for Lyme on her SNAP test. I gave her flea and tick prevention, but I didn't give her heartworm till a little bit later because this dog hadn't had a vaccine and hadn't been taken care of since like 2016 in her records it showed. So I wasn't going to bombard her with a whole bunch of things. But for the first week that I had her, like every veterinarian that was there saw her. And she came with me to work for like the first 6 months that I had her. I had 5 cats and I didn't want to leave her at home, and I thought that that was like the best thing for her. But then I had a coworker that had adopted a puppy, and I saw how bored the puppy was at in the cage. So I want to put her in daycare, but I'm also really paranoid because I've seen so many things. Hey, 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 leave her alone. Leave her alone. So sometimes she gets territorial with the cats, but she doesn't hurt them. So I want to put her in daycare. And then, but not right now because I'm on disability because I'm getting chemo. So that was that, like slowly or whatever. And then I had her a week. So I picked her up from the shelter on September 14th, and on September 21st, I got her surgery, her double chain mastectomy, and she was spayed. Fifi, come here. And she was spayed. So, in my opinion, I haven't found an article that has been able to tell me for sure, yes, like when you spay your dog, the skin issues that they have are gonna go away because they no longer have those hormones. But I am here to tell you, please spay and neuter your animals. If you don't spay your female dogs, there's a huge percentage that they will develop mammary tumors. I don't know exactly the statistic, but I do know that with each heat cycle, it increases the possibility of them having mammary tumors. And then by the time they're 2 years old, like it's off the chart. Like you can't even, there isn't even a percentage. Like it's just like crazy. It doesn't happen to every dog, but it does happen. And before I did her surgery, the chief of staff did a x-ray on her lungs to make sure that the cancer hadn't spread to her lungs. The same thing I had to do when I got diagnosed with breast cancer. Like I had to do a CT scan, a PET scan. I had to do a CT scan. I had to do an MRI of the brain. I had to do another MRI. I had to do an echo to make sure that my heart was okay and that it could take the chemo. All of those other scans to make sure that the cancer hadn't spread to other parts of my organs, to other organs. So, and then there's also something called pyometra, which is deadly if it's not taken care of in 24 to 48 hours. Your dog's uterus will fill up with pus and they will die. This can all be prevented if you spay your female dogs. Fifi was, like, my boyfriend thought that she wasn't gonna make it. Like, we were gonna have her for a week. She was so messed up, and you'll see the pictures. You'll see the difference. And when I went to finalize the adoption, a month later, her hair, like, it got to the point where I was like, how long is it gonna take for her hair to grow? Whenever I would see people walking their dogs with like poodles, and they'd be like, oh my god, like 3 weeks, like a month, and I'd be like, oh, like I've had her for like 3 months and her hair isn't growing. Once she was healthy and I was giving her a proper diet and all of those things, her hair, I have to take her to get groomed like every 3 to 4 weeks. And sometimes her hair grows so fast that I have to like take a buzzer to her sanitary area because the hair grows so fast and she gets like urine in it, and she sleeps with me, so I have to make sure that she's like absolutely like clean. Like whenever she comes in from a walk, like I wipe her paws, I wipe her butt. She gets combed in a spray at night. She has like a whole nighttime routine, and I'm obsessed with her, and she's obsessed with me. So it's fair. It's a even relationship, like a two-way street. So whenever, like, just spay and neuter your dogs. Like that, to me, in my opinion, is like what changed her the most. Having that surgery, getting those hormones out, getting the tumor. Like, she turned into a puppy. Like, she jumps so high whenever she sees the leash comes out. She like runs and she gets so excited. She like kicks me. She has come into her own. Like, I'm so in love with her, and I had no idea she was gonna be this beautiful. I did her DNA, and she's so sassy and spicy that I thought she had Chihuahua in her, but she's actually 75% miniature poodle and 25% Shih Tzu. So some of the things that I did, I just wrote down, and I wanna talk a little bit about what I did. So in the beginning, because her skin was so, like her ears, you'll see in the picture in the video that's gonna follow, her ears were so inflamed that the medication for the bacteria that she had in her ears, that's called rods, it's the application is a tiny little thin straw, kind of like a coffee stirrer, maybe even smaller. Her ears were so inflamed I couldn't get that straw in, and she wasn't really taking food from me, and I put her on a prescription food, that's ZD. It's Hills, and you have to get a prescription from your veterinarian. I gave her that because it was in her file that a previous veterinarian has suggested that she take that, and I thought that it was such a good thing. Like, I gave it to her, but it turns out she doesn't have any allergies. She just, I think it was the hormones from her ovaries, and her butthole was black. Like one of my coworkers and friends that's really amazing. She would make fun of her, and like every now and then, whenever I get like a good picture of her butt, I like snap a picture and send her. So my friend has a bunch of like butthole pictures of my dog in her text messages. I stopped giving her the ZD because my boyfriend got Ollie, which is like food that is delivered, and I didn't transition her off of it. Don't not transition your pets off of food because they could get a bellyache. But I stopped giving her that because she didn't need it, and it's like really good food, and it helped her skin a lot. But I don't know, I didn't like the way it looked. But now, and her poop, I like the way that her poop looked. I'm a nurse, so I look at all of that stuff. Like, when I pick up her poop, like, I wonder if people see me like looking at it and examining it. I'm like, oh, it's a good consistency. I like the color. So I really liked that food, and I really liked giving it to her, but she was giving me like a hard time eating it. So I started putting some rice in it with some chicken, and then my boyfriend got that food, and I transitioned her onto it, and like her poop is beautiful. She's like healthy and happy. She maintains a good weight. I make sure that she maintains her weight. I measure how much I feed her. And then Cytopoint, if your dog has allergies, speak with your veterinarian. Cytopoint, if the first time you give Cytopoint, it's not just a one-time thing. It can be expensive if you have a bigger dog, because it is by weight. However, if you go to a Banfield has Banfield's mission statement is that they believe that everyone should have affordable vet care for their pet. So look into their wellness plans. I love that about Banfield. Look into it. Cyto Point. So the first, it's suggested from some veterinarians that I've worked with. They suggested that you kind of booster it like you would a vaccine. So you give it every in the beginning, you give it every 4 weeks, and then after that, you could download a brochure on the Cyto Point website. It's called like the itch tracker, and then after you give the booster of the Cyto Point, you could measure like to see how long it takes for your dogs to start itching. Sometimes, on some occasions, I have seen veterinarians give their pets aquapill. Aquapill. I don't know. I can't say it. Aquapill. It's not aquapill. It's AQ. In combination with Apoquel. There you go. Apoquel with Cyto Point in combination. That you have to have a blood test to make sure that your pet is healthy enough to take it. I did that for Fifi once. Fifi once I gave her like 2 weeks of Apoquel because she was licking her paws. Now when I take her to the groomers, I have them do clean feet because she gets so fluffy. I had to give her prednisone because prednisone long term can cause kidney issues, and it could cause diabetes. One of my cats takes prednisolone, which is I think it's broken down so that cats can metabolize it better. And prednisone, my dad used to take it when because he had myasthenia gravis. Fifi, I gave it to her because her skin was so swollen, and I gave her that in combination with Convenia. Convenia is an injection. Some veterinarians love it. I love it. I love it because I have had cats for such a long time. Fifi's my first dog, and it's almost impossible to give your cat a pill. If you can give your cat a pill, you're amazing. I can't. So the idea of like giving an injection if your animal needs an antibiotic, Convenia, done, one and done. That an injection. However, some you don't know how they're gonna react, and if they don't react well to it, you can't take it out because it's an injection. It's already in. So I gave her Fifi, Bianca. Fifi, come here. So I gave her a combination of prednisone and Convenia. Convenia lasts for 2 weeks, and then when she was done with the Convenia in her system, I think I waited like a few days to give her Simplicef so that her incision could heal. Also, because I gave her prednisone, I couldn't give her Rimadyl. For her surgery, I had to give her Bupe, which is a low grade opioid, and it's expensive. But I had the opportunity to get her surgery, and that was like one of the most important things. So I didn't plan it well. I mean, there wasn't Fifi, stop. So I didn't. I mean, there was no planning. It's just the opportunity arose, and like if I could afford it. I mean, I could. It's not that I could afford it, but there's nothing I wouldn't have done for her to give her like a better life. Like she's amazing. And then and also hexachlor. So her paws, in between the webbing of her paws, the first week that I had her, every doctor would like examine her, and he noticed that there was like moisture in between the webbings of her feet. So he did like a skin impression. He grabbed the slide and he put it against the webbing of her paws, put it under the microscope, and it was the same bacteria that she had in her ears, in between her paws. So for like, I think for like a month, every 2 to 3 days, I would soak her paws in hexachlor shampoo. I would lather it and I would put it in between her paws and I would let it soak for like 5 to 10 minutes. I had to clean her ears every day or every other day. Put medicine in her ears for the rod infections. I think it's Positex. Put the infection in her ears. And then also I would use it on her, in between the webbings of her paws. She had no hair around her eyes. When I first got her, you'll see in the video. So I would put I think it's Neopolydex drops in her eyes, and that has a steroid, so it would help the hair grow around her eyes. And since we did a fluorescein eye stain to make sure that she didn't have an ulcer, it was safe for me to get it in her eye. But really the purpose of it was for growing the hair around her eyes. What else did I do? Oh, and the ear flush that I used, it was a medicated ear flush that had a steroid in it. So it was like amazing. Like I do that. So these are some things that I did, or everything that I really did with the Fifers. Now I really don't do anything. I feed her twice a day. I give her a supplement for the protein that causes tear stains, because she's a light colored dog and I don't want her to be like her mama and have dark circles. I just clean her eyes at night, put the powder in her food. In the morning I put the powder to absorb the protein so it doesn't stain her fur. I take her to the groomers. I give her a bath every week. So I clean her ears every week. But I really don't do anything other than like love her and like brush her at night. Part of her care is getting her groomed every month. If you want, you could extend it to every 4 to 6 weeks. But when you have a breed that's fluffy like Fifi, part of their care is to get them groomed. If not, you're gonna get matting, and if you get matting, that's too bad that the groomer can't handle without causing your dog pain or causing them to bleed. You'll have to schedule an appointment with a veterinarian and have them sedate your dog, do blood work to make sure they're healthy enough to be sedated so that they could have a sedated groom. So, medical groom, it's what it's called. So you also have to incorporate that. I would do this a million times over. I would do it a million times. I don't regret anything that I did with her. I would do it a million times. I maxed out one of my emergency credit cards for my pets, but she was more than worth it. I love her so much, and I think it's something. I don't know what word to give to it, but this time last year, I rescued her and she had mammary tumors. And then a year later, I'm in chemo for breast cancer. I think that's something. So I believe I covered everything. And in the next videos, I put a picture of her when I first rescued her from the shelter. There's some pictures there when I finalized the adoption. Yeah, you'll see. If you have any questions, if you're like wondering specifically what it is, just comment, and I'll be like, oh, that picture was from there, because I don't remember exactly what it is. And then the last one is yesterday, when she was fresh from grooming, because she's a little sassy monster. Look at this little monster. Oh, and look at that. So beautiful. Thank you.
So you guys gotta bring it back or is it? Did she come in with the fish? Probably. She's ready, did she say? No, she has a memory tumor also. She's got 20 years. We're gonna make you all better. Make you all better. Because that takes her back. She's got a cataract there. Yeah. She's a doctor. I had to call her. She's my support veterinarian. Wonderful. Can I be okay? Oh, you know what teacher is? Okay, come on.
What are you doing? Why are you crying? Why are you crying? What's the problem? Why are you being a brat? Why are you being a brat?
Y a veces se pone a correr en el apartamento, desde lado a lado.
¿Para que le caigan atrás?
Ella no es muy amigable.
Yo la acabo de rescatar.
Oh, la acaba de rescatar.
Look at those tails go!